Acidic conditions will promote delivery of oxygen there, acidic conditions. How about increased temperature, right? Heat will cook your meat, and so heat will also denature that hemoglobin, releasing the oxygen that's there. And again, when we're exercising or anytime that there's increase in metabolism, which results in increased demand for oxygen, and doesn't that promote increased temperature? So when there's acidic conditions, when there's increased temperature, these are times when we really need oxygen, and that's good because they will denature the hemoglobin, unload the oxygen there. Fetal hemoglobin also has a higher affinity for oxygen than the maternal hemoglobin. That's why pregnancy, right? There's a condition called pregnancy anemia. Pregnant women generally become anemic because the baby hemoglobin has a higher attraction for oxygen than the mother hemoglobin. Okay? So we understand how we unload our oxygen. You see now how we transported it. Again, we breathe in, right? We know how the oxygen ended up in my alveolus, the pressure differences, right? The contraction of your muscle, Boyle's law, etc., etc. Once it got here, we understood how it moved from here to your pulmonary capillaries, just pressure gradient difference. It's more concentrated here, so it will just diffuse here. And now let's look at how carbon dioxide travels. Carbon dioxide travels in the blood three ways. So, carbon dioxide can be present just like your oxygen, which is present in plasma and RBC. Carbon dioxide is also always present in plasma and RBC. There are three types or three ways to transport carbon dioxide back to the lungs. The main way is in the plasma in the form of bicarbonate. Don't forget, remember that carbon dioxide is a waste product and we need to get rid of it because it very easily combines with water to form carbonic acid. Carbonic acid. So carbon dioxide plus water forms carbonic acid. So we need to make sure that we blow this off. So as it travels to the lungs, it can travel as carbonic acid, bicarb, plain carbon dioxide also, right here in the plasma. The main way that our body transports carbon dioxide is as bicarbonate. We don't let it stay as acid because acid is dangerous. So our body tries to keep it as bicarb and on its way so you can blow it up as carbon in the air. Okay? Carbon dioxide can also be found bound to your hemoglobin. Remember, as carbaminohemoglobin. Remember, this is different from carboxyhemoglobin, right? Carbaminohemoglobin is just normal carbon dioxide that's bound to the amino group of your hemoglobin. So each hemoglobin molecule, right, can carry both oxygen and carbon dioxide at the same time because oxygen is bound to what? To the iron part and carbon dioxide to the amino group of your hemoglobin. So they both can be transported there. Okay? Again, both oxygen and carbon dioxide are found in plasma and inside RBC at the same time. The most predominant way to transport oxygen is inside RBC as hemoglobin, oxyhemoglobin. Some of it is also transported in the plasma as plain oxygen. For carbon dioxide, the predominant way to transport it is in the plasma as bicarb. There's some plain carbon dioxide here too. But some of it can also be inside my RBC as carbaminohemoglobin. Then they go into the lungs, you breathe it out, and you're done
And
with
what's the
your.
third way? The CO2 plus the H2O?
Oh, that's just how they combine.
You said there were three ways. I got the in the
As
plasma,
bicarb, as
bicarbonate.
plain carbon dioxide,
Oh,
and
as plain
in the red blood
carbonate.
cell. It's
Okay.
plain carbon dioxide.
Okay.
Okay? So the three ways: bicarb, plain carbon dioxide, where in the plasma or bound to your hemoglobin in the RBC.
Okay.
But what's the predominant way for carbon dioxide in the plasma, right? How about for oxygen in the RBC? We're done with respiratory system. So you see, look at what happens to people with pneumothorax. The the radiolucency shows you the lungs, and you see compare normal with there's no more. There's just it's not able to recoil to push the air out. And this is what happens to our lungs when it's just this is a nice healthy lung, and this is a smoker's lung.
Yeah.
And of course, have you seen some people with barrel chest? That is the common problem. Now you understand the anatomical presentation of people with emphysema. Don't they have a barrel chest? Why? Because their lungs are expanded. So it's like they have a barrel chest. Their lungs are expanded. It can the
Push.
elastic recoil is compromised. Okay? And this is very common. The clubbing of the fingers is a very, very common sign of compromised oxygen delivery. And a lot of times it's because of respiratory problems maybe, or it can also be idiopathic. Maybe iron deficiency also can happen. Anytime you have compromised oxygen delivery, there's clubbing of the fingers. Like a golf club. That's why it's called clubbing of the fingers. Okay?
So that way we
So,
test the vascularity to
yes.
see if the blood.
Yes. So for today, all I want you to do is open up your cat and please yank out the, and we're going to do endotracheal intubation, identify the lungs, trace, identify those structures, okay? So from the larynx, the pharynx, then the larynx, yank it out, identify the epiglottis, you insert the straw and you inhale into the lungs, identify the lungs. Identify the phrenic nerve that stimulates your diaphragm. And then the intercostal nerves for the intercostal muscles. And then after, and then of course the trachea, you trace it, look for the find out really if the posterior wall of the trachea is not continuous. It's just smooth muscle. And then the carina, where it separates into right and left bronchus, and then the lungs. And that's it. Then you can go home. Then Wednesday we have our lecture test. And while I'm checking your papers, I want you to do for Wednesday
I'll be back
our
after this doctor.
cardiorespiratory lab. So you have your worksheets. So on Wednesday, do your worksheets. We're going to do blood pressure, we're going to do auscultation. Oh, you know the difference between auscultation, palpation, percussion? We did discuss that, right?
No.
Auscultation, these are skills, physical examination skills when when we examine our patients. So of course we start with inspection. This is always what we do. We look at the patient. We look at that's what you call it. This is always the first thing you do. Whatever kind of disease or illness the patient comes in, you look at the patient. Inspection, right? And then palpation means feeling. So you feel any kind of swelling, palpation. Auscultation means you use a stethoscope, so you listen through the use of a stethoscope. That's auscultation. And then finally, percussion, like a percussion instrument, right? Percussion is listening using your, that's percussion. But I remember that the people in the program there, they always ask me what's the answer. So they always like to confuse. You have a patient with whatever. What are you going to do first? You're always going to do inspection first. That's the first thing. You understand the difference between these four? Inspection, palpation to feel, inspect to look, palpation, feel, percussion, just the drums, just think the drums, so you have to listen. There's a difference in the sounds. See? Okay, and then auscultation, listening to sounds using your stethoscope. Oh, and so your cardiorespiratory lab, we're going to do this one right here. And spirometry on,
So it's a circulatory respiratory system lab.
yes. So, do you see this one, circulatory and respiratory system lab? And then all the way to this part right here, spirometry.
Circulatory. Where's the first page?
Circulatory respiratory system lab.
Oh, right here. Pulse.
And then all the way here. So this is what we're going to do while you're waiting for me to correct your papers on Wednesday, okay?
The respiratory disease fact chart and all that too.
Yes, yeah. But you're gonna work on that until next Monday. So, but you start on Wednesday while you're waiting for me to finish checking your papers. And this one is a nice practice for you to compute for spirometry values. How do you do your spirometry? This last page right here is just giving you an explanation of the different values and how to do it. Okay, so don't ask me, how do I do this? It's right here. You read this one first. So take out your cats, please, and let's do our breathing into the lungs of the cat. We're going to do intubation. Wear your lab coats and take out your cats. And let's do intubation. Okay. How many cats do we have here? Two cats? Okay, go get your cats. Yeah. Your lab exam is coming up very, very soon, so be sure you're familiar with your anatomy. I'll focus a lung for you, and you should be able to see the difference. When I have the lung, you will see where's the bronchiole and where's the lung. The lung is just simple squamous epithelium. You see as you